Breaking news: as both Israel and Hamas make demands, Egypt tries to mediate a truce in Gaza. American officials claimed very serious discussions were underway to end the Israeli offensive in the Palestinian enclave of Gaza and free additional Israeli hostages, but the future of these talks was cloudy at best due to Hamas's insistence on discussing no terms less than an end to the offensive. On Wednesday, Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh made his first visit to Egypt in over a month to meet with Egyptian officials who are trying to mediate a new truce. According to a source familiar with the talks, representatives were debating in great detail which Palestinian prisoners Israel could release in exchange for the hostages held by Palestinian Islamist militants in Gaza and which ones could be freed as part of a new truce. Islamic Jihad, a smaller Palestinian militant group, has also announced that its leader will be visiting Egypt in the next days to discuss potential peace talks. Islamic Jihad is also holding hostages in Gaza. Reporters aboard Air Force One were informed by White House spokesperson John Kirby that these are very serious discussions and negotiations, and we hope that they lead somewhere on Wednesday, according to Tahir al-Nono, who is Haniyeh's media advisor. He told Reuters that until Israel stops its military campaign in Gaza and increases the volume of humanitarian aid to Palestinian civilians, Hamas will not discuss releasing more Israeli hostages. Once we have resolved these two issues, we can begin to negotiate about the prisoners. As long as Israel maintains its aggressive behavior, we will not be able to discuss negotiations. Nono stated in an interview held in Cairo that any discussion of prisoner proposals must take place after the aggression has ceased. Hamas has stated that it will only negotiate a permanent ceasefire and has rejected any additional temporary pauses in Israel's military campaign. We have talked with our brothers in Egypt, outlining our stance on this aggression and the urgent need to stop it as a top priority, said Nono. A source familiar with the negotiations, who asked not to be named, said that Israel has demanded the release of all female and elderly hostages. Israel may release certain prisoners from prison, including Palestinians found guilty of serious crimes. I'm pushing the hostage deal, Biden says. After Hamas militants raided Israel on October 7, Israel began its operation in the Gaza Strip with the goal of destroying the group. The campaign has been ongoing for over a decade. In all, they killed 1,200 people and kidnapped 240, according to Israel. Israel has launched a huge ground and air offensive against the coastal enclave since then. According to the Gazan Health Ministry, nearly 20,000 people have died, and thousands more may be buried under the debris. International relief organizations have warned that the 2.3 million people living in Gaza are on the verge of a catastrophe due to the widespread devastation that has displaced 90% of them from their homes, caused widespread malnutrition, and severely limited access to healthcare and clean water. On Wednesday, U.S. President Joe Biden told reporters that he did not anticipate a second agreement between Israel and Hamas to free hostages being reached soon, but he did add, "We're pushing." Haniyeh has only ever personally intervened in diplomacy when he believed progress was imminent, so his trip to Egypt was unprecedented. His most recent trip to Egypt was in early November, just before the sole truce in the Gaza war to date was announced. During that week-long pause, approximately 110 hostages held by Hamas were freed. The Israeli government has remained silent regarding the Cairo summit. However, it has made it clear that it will not agree to a permanent ceasefire and will instead only support temporary humanitarian pauses until Hamas is vanquished. The elimination of Hamas, the release of all hostages, and the cessation of Gaza's threat to Israel were the conditions that would bring an end to the war, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reiterated on Wednesday. Whoever believes we will cease is completely out of touch with reality. Every single member of Hamas, from the founder to the current day, is a walking corpse, he declared in a statement distributed on Wednesday. The United States, Israel's most trusted ally, has intensified its demands for a reduction in the country's current state of full-scale war, urging Israel to zero in on Hamas leaders and put an end to the indiscriminate bombing that has resulted in numerous civilian casualties, as described by Vice President Biden. The United States has this week established a multinational force to repel missile and drone attacks on commercial ships in the Red Sea by Yemen's Houthi forces, who are demonstrating support for the Palestinians' resistance to Israel through Iran's Arab militia proxies. The leader of the Houthis threatened on Wednesday to attack American warships if Washington targeted their forces. Diplomats said that the U.S. had requested a postponement of the UN Security Council vote on Thursday in an effort to increase aid to the Gaza Strip. Since a second crossing into the enclave was opened a few days ago, aid into Gaza has been progressively increased. There was no final agreement reached, but on Wednesday, Cyprus and Israel stated they were exploring opening a sea route to bring more aid in, with contributions from Steve Holland on Air Force One, Dan Williams in Jerusalem, Bassam Massoudi in Gaza, Cynthia Osterman in writing, and Lisa Shoemaker in editing.